Meghan Markle is staring down a crisis unlike any she's faced before. What began as whispers in the palace halls has now erupted into a global media firestorm. An anonymous royal staffer has allegedly released a series of audio recordings that don't just suggest scandal, they scream it. In the leaked audio, Meghan is reportedly heard discussing her philanthropic ventures not as noble missions, but as strategic brand opportunities. That's the allegation shaking the monarchy. Forget service. Forget sacrifice. The accusation now? That Meghan engineered her charity work as a launchpad to global fame, personal profit, and ultimate media control.
I don't know about you, but I grew up with South Park, and nothing in their sites has ever been sacred. And they do have this, in my view, perfectly irreverent way of reading the room. This week they've taken a swipe at Harry and Meghan, and it's gone viral.
We want privacy! We want privacy! Thanks for having us on the show. It's so awesome to be here. It's great. So let me start with you, Sam. You've lived a life with the royal family. You've had everything handed to you, but you say your life has been hard, and now you've written all about it.
That's not just a betrayal of the public's trust. It's a direct hit to the very image she built her post-royal career upon. Inside the palace, the reaction has reportedly been swift and severe. Royal insiders claim this is no longer about gossip. This is about safeguarding legacy. Because when the image of philanthropy becomes a prop, the backlash is merciless. One palace source was blunt. This could be the scandal that rewrites everything. With international tabloids on fire and PR teams scrambling, Meghan isn't just under fire, she's on the brink. The audio files are damning, and they've rocked the palace to its core. In the leaked tapes, a voice believed to be Meghan's is heard outlining her so-called philanthropic strategy.
Zoom in here and it says, with the compliments of Her Royal Highness, the Duchess of Sussex. That is a title that was stripped from her when she and Harry made their whole racism debacle and left the UK, left their royal duties, and moved to the US to bug all of us.
It's so funny too that you keep saying Meghan Markle, you know I'm Sussex now.
Funny, I actually watched the entire episode and I was howling laughing. I thought it was brilliant. I mean, I think it really encapsulates how many Americans are feeling. The episode was very clever in the sense that they call them.
But the language isn't one of service or selflessness. It's clinical. It's calculated. Phrases like maximize media return, leverage visibility, and convert goodwill to brand equity paint a picture that feels more like a corporate pitch deck than a charitable mission. In one of the most quoted clips, the voice says, "We don't need to fix every problem. We just need the story that says we tried." That line alone has sparked outrage. Viewers, fans, and critics alike are calling it a betrayal of every cause she's ever claimed to support.
The press show her wearing pretty much every colour in the rainbow. The show opens with the claim that the royal family declined to comment on the series. That's another lie. The palace says it received one email from an unknown company and attempts to verify it.
The only thing HRH stands for in association with Meghan Markle is her ruthless homewreckerness.
In the time since, in the years since, they've done everything to prove the opposite. You know, they can't seem to get enough of media attention. I don't think people understand even Harry's book that's been released is part of a multi-book deal, right? You know, how many people leave their family and record themselves on the plane the entire.
Audio experts brought in by royal advisors are reportedly working to authenticate the recordings, and early findings suggest they are very real. The tone, cadence, even specific anecdotes in the audio match up with Meghan's public appearances and private schedules. But the most chilling part? The strategic references to public sympathy. In another moment, the voice allegedly suggests, "Charity gives us a shield. They won't attack us if we're giving." If that's true, it's not just manipulative, it's ruthless. The timing couldn't be worse for Meghan.
She spreads her legs, she hikes her dress, she circles her genitals.
Wanting to exploit their royal titles, I think it stinks. And I think what King Charles should do, he should just strip them of the titles.
Because just as the audio storm began to spread, a familiar face stepped back into the spotlight, Jason Knopf. Once her trusted communications chief, Knopf has become one of the most vocal critics of Meghan's leadership style behind palace doors. Years ago, he filed formal complaints about her behavior, claiming she drove staff to tears, created a culture of fear, and pushed aides to breaking points. At the time, many dismissed it as hearsay.
But now,
with the audio leak, everything's being reevaluated. Knopf recently broke his silence again, doubling down on the original claims. He confirmed that his concerns were legitimate and that multiple employees reported feeling mentally drained under Meghan's direction.
Favorite little niece, Ashley. Meghan also sees she got no advice on royal protocol, forcing her to learn how to be a princess all on her own.
joining this family, I knew that there was a protocol for how things were done. There's no class in some person who goes sit like this.
Meghan Markle, she may have stepped down from royal duties more than 5 years ago, but she keeps taking aim at the monarchy. The Duchess of Sussex has made reportedly at least half a dozen swipes at the royal family this year, and it's only June.
We'll see King Charles do this because I don't think that he likes the fact that he's been accused of racism towards his grandchildren.
He hinted that the palace conducted a quiet internal review, one that may now resurface under fresh public pressure. More importantly, palace sources believe Knopf's sudden return to headlines wasn't accidental. Prince William reportedly rehired him in an advisory capacity, signaling full support for Knopf's account. That's not a subtle move. That's a declaration. Together, the bullying narrative and the audio tapes form a picture that's hard to ignore. A duchess who portrayed herself as progressive and kind-hearted, but who may have treated staff like pawns in a game of public image warfare. And the public? They're starting to ask, what else have we been misled about? This wasn't a charity, it was a content machine. Multiple insiders now allege that Meghan's so-called philanthropy blueprint followed one rule.
As ever, her new company, the very first thing she said was, look, when I had the TIG, which was her previous lifestyle website, I loved cooking and I loved gardening and being a hostess, and that she basically said I had to keep my light under a bushel at this time because of the royal family. Then we get her show, her Netflix show.
Harry and Meghan are the problem. And while we're going to go over all the people that they've hired, just as a great reminder, the couple have hired plenty of professionals before. People at high levels who have worked for Bill Gates, Patagonia, all these sorts of things. And yet none of them have been successful. The common denominator in everything here is Harry and Meghan.
Optics first. Before a single cause was chosen, a media plan was sketched. Professional photographers booked. Brand consultants looped in. Every event was curated for maximum visibility, not maximum impact. According to a former staffer involved in early Archewell planning, the goal wasn't just to give. It was to trend. The tapes back this up. Meghan's voice, allegedly caught saying phrases like front-facing deliverables and brand-positive outcomes, reveals a staggering level of media orchestration. That's not compassion, it's commerce. And while causes were featured on glossy websites, former team members say the behind-the-scenes energy was poured into wardrobe, staging, and headline timing. If that's how charity was handled, what does that say about the brand behind it? But this strategy wasn't invisible forever, and that's where things really start to fall apart.
Her creativity being stunted. She says that when, she first, and, as a result of the royal family, she says that when she became a mum, she would have thought that she'd be able to have a baby on her hip and give speeches, but then, the whole drama and the pain and everything that was caused by being part of the royal family.
This also follows all the stories about her bullying style over here in the UK, which is unresolved. NDAs stopped all that stuff coming out, but she bullied people in a very unpleasant way over here.
Once the pattern clicked, it couldn't be unseen. Analysts are now revisiting Meghan's past campaigns, watching speeches, tracing fundraisers, reviewing Instagram captions, and noticing a disturbing consistency: repeated phrases, image recycling, and suspiciously timed press surges that coincide with unrelated royal events. One viral TikTok even outlines a side-by-side timeline of when Meghan launched projects, almost always right before major Windsor appearances. Coincidence? Critics don't think so. An ex-palace aide put it bluntly. They didn't break away from the firm. They tried to build a better version of it, with themselves as the stars. And now, that playbook has been exposed. With these tapes, with the bullying allegations, with staff whispering and analysts watching, the curtain has been pulled back. It wasn't random. It was a calculated system. a formula designed to build a personal empire using the crown as scaffolding. And once people realize that, they don't forget. What's the difference between charity and campaign? In Meghan's case, everything. Multiple insiders now allege that Archewell's philanthropic events were built backwards. Instead of identifying needs and delivering aid, they say the team started with image, then worked outward. According to former planning documents leaked to British media outlets, the first priorities listed were media capture, partnership activation, and storyboard deliverables. The actual causes? Buried below logistics. Sources claim the Duchess's calendar revolved around optics. One whistleblower said charity visits were timed to align with key brand milestones, product launches, docuseries promotions, or book announcements. And when reporters asked questions about outcomes, staff were allegedly told to pivot to impact language and deflect to narrative. The worst part? Some charity recipients reportedly said they were contacted after press teams were already briefed. One said, "We didn't even know why she was coming until her camera crew arrived." And let's be honest, strategy isn't evil. Every modern public figure thinks about branding. But when you treat real suffering as set decoration, that crosses a line. It's the kind of revelation that doesn't just damage reputation, it obliterates credibility. And the proof? It's now surfacing in budget breakdowns showing more money spent on styling and media than on direct aid. One source put it bluntly.
Back of your head. This gruesome twosome only survived by cashing in on what's left of their royal status now. I said it before, I'll say it again tonight. King Charles should strip them of all their remaining titles and cast them out from any connection to the royal family. How could any of them trust them as far as I could throw them? Because without it, they're just whining millennial windbags.
She made philanthropy a prop. And now the image she tried so hard to control, it's collapsing. In the days following the tape leaks and bullying rehash, several major PR partnerships reportedly hit the brakes. A luxury skincare label pulled back a joint campaign. A publishing house postponed a scheduled children's book re-release. Even high-end influencers, once proudly aligning with the Duchess, are quietly scrubbing hashtags and reposts. TikTok creators are stitching old Meghan interviews and asking, was this all rehearsed? Twitter threads are connecting timelines and receipts. YouTube commentary is ablaze with breakdowns of the audio tone, the linguistic patterns, the strategy underneath the surface. But the biggest blow may be behind the scenes. A major US-based PR firm allegedly rejected a $400,000 contract offer from Meghan's team, citing reputational incompatibility. Another London-based agency is rumored to be preparing a white paper internally, an audit of Meghan's brand risks, just in case clients start asking questions. And that's what this is now, radioactive. If your brand is built on kindness, but you're caught scripting compassion for the cameras, you don't just lose fans. You lose trust. Permanently. A Hollywood exec whispered to tabloids, everyone's watching to see how fast she falls. And while Meghan's camp scrambles, the palace is striking. Within days of the scandal breaking, Prince William allegedly reinstated Jason Knopf as head of communications for the Royal Foundation. That move isn't just tactical, it's symbolic. Knopf, the original whistleblower on Meghan's alleged bullying, is now front and center again, this time with palace backing and royal authority. Insiders say Knopf didn't return quietly. He came in with files, memos, emails, everything he documented. And now, those documents are reportedly being reviewed alongside the leaked tapes to map out a timeline of events that could form the basis for a broader royal response. William's message is clear. The monarchy will not be shamed into silence. What's more, the Queen's former legal counsel was spotted meeting with palace aides this week. That's not tea. That's a signal. It means paperwork is being reviewed. Statements are being drafted. And, if necessary, action may be taken. The Crown doesn't do confrontation lightly, but when pushed, it pushes back. Hard. And right now, every move suggests they're done playing defense. The calm is over. Now comes the storm. Behind the palace gates, strategy meetings are reportedly running around the clock. Lawyers, reputation experts, and financial auditors are circling every inch of Meghan's philanthropic trail. And they're not just reviewing headlines, they're examining paper trails. If even a fraction of what the tapes suggest is verified, the fallout will be relentless. In the UK, the Charity Commission is said to be monitoring developments closely. That's code for they're preparing to investigate. One former commissioner told reporters, if charitable funds were misrepresented or repurposed for personal branding, that's not just unethical, it's a violation of trust that could spark a full compliance review. Meanwhile, in the US, Archwell's tax filings are reportedly under informal review by watchdog groups. There's already talk of a possible donor-led inquiry. Whispers of a class action suit are making their way through legal blogs and influencer pages. If donors were misled about where their money was going, they'll want answers and potentially compensation. But it doesn't end with investigations. It could cost Meghan everything. Palace advisors are allegedly pushing King Charles to strip Meghan of her remaining honorary titles and royal patronages. Some suggest the firm may even pressure Harry to publicly distance himself if the scandal deepens, isolating Meghan to contain the damage. And then there's her career. Netflix, Spotify, book publishers, cosmetic sponsors, clothing lines. Nobody wants to be tethered to a ticking bomb. One PR executive reportedly said, she went from inspiration to liability in 72 hours. If that sounds dramatic, it's not. It's corporate calculus. And when a public figure's trust account runs empty, doors don't close. They slam shut. This isn't just a reputation crisis. It's a global unraveling. One leak, one recording, one scandal, and everything Meghan built could collapse like a house of cards. Because the question now isn't if there are consequences. It's how big and how fast they come. Here's the fallout in focus. Meghan's brand was built on authenticity. Now that narrative is cracking. Accusations of self-serving charity and staff mistreatment could rewrite her legacy. William's rehire of Knopf and Palace reinforcement offer only one path: real talk, accountability, or erasure. And those watching, they're not just judging Meghan. They're judging the monarchy. Whether it rebounds or fractures could define a generation of royal relevance. Because when image outpaces impact, no empire, royal or personal, can survive unscathed.